Along my pursuit of esoteric knowledge, I came across a book called The Law of One, the Book of Ra. And it's a very fascinating and interesting text, which is essentially channeled text, which has been received by some channelers, and they've been channeling a spirit or an entity from a higher dimension, the sixth dimension, called Ra. And they talk a lot about the seven densities and how our consciousness evolves through the seven densities, which we can also refer to as the seven dimensions. And this number 7 is very sacred. We have 7 colors of the rainbow. We have the 7 octaves of musical notes. And so this number 7, I feel, encompasses the journey that we go on as a spiritual being. And where we are now is on the 3rd density as humans having this experience. So when I say the word dense or density, it's essentially light, because everything that we agree, and scientists agree on this, is energy. So the more dense the energy, the more light that there is, the more consciousness can express itself. So in the first density, which would have been shortly after the Big Bang, there would have been all the elements, whether it's different gases, air, fire, water, earth, and over billions of years there was this beautiful dance of alchemy in the universe, and planets were formed, and meteors and moons, and from these planets came life in the form of microbiotic entities or energies, and this evolved. So the second dimension, the second density, consciousness could express itself just that little bit more. And as this second density evolved and animals formed and different forms of life formed, eventually we came into the 3rd density, and consciousness was able to express itself in human form, which is where we are all now, in the 3rd density. And in the 3rd density, consciousness can express itself in such beautiful ways. When we have music and art and culture and food and poetry and wisdom, so many beautiful ways that consciousness expresses itself, and dance as well is another beautiful form of expression. And the more that we express ourselves, the more that we evolve on this path of consciousness, as more as we evolve higher up the densities, what happens is we start to express ourselves in more expressive ways, and God and love and light can express itself through us more. So now, as we evolve on this path, I understand that the planet itself has already ascended into the 4th dimension. I believe this happened around 2012, which the Mayans predicted would be the end of the world. But actually it was just the end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one. And so by the planet evolving and ascending into the 4th dimension, or the 4th density, this gives the humans that are here the capacity to also evolve with the planet. So you will have noticed that there's been a spiritual revolution of late, where everybody is connecting to plant spirits, to mindfulness, to meditation, to yoga, to mantras and tantras and all the rest of it. So we are really in the midst of a spiritual revolution, because we are entering into the 4th dimension. And us as humans, when we do this, we start to operate more in light, more in spirit, more with the unseen. We connect to the understanding of this. We're able to manage our emotions more and be lighter and release the emotions and the patterns that no longer serve us. And this is what's going to assist us on our evolution to the higher dimensions. And many humans, I believe, that have incarnated on Earth are actually already from the higher dimensions, from enlightened masters like Jesus and Buddha, who are most likely from the 5th dimension, that came here to spread enlightenment. Then you have people like Abraham Hicks, who are spiritual teachers of today, I feel are from the 4th dimension. And these beautiful beings, they would often speak not in terms of I or me, they would often speak in terms of we and us, because they were channeling higher dimensional entities. And in the higher dimensional entities, there's more collectiveness, there's more connectedness, and we are operating as a unit, as a family, as one, because the illusion of separation up the densities become less and less and less. So my friends and family, I feel it's important to understand this, to understand that we are spiritual beings having a human journey. And when we can perceive the bigger picture and understand the different densities of consciousness and how we rise up the densities and how this allows consciousness to express itself more and more and more, So this is my invitation to you to be aware of where you are in your journey, to understand that this dimension, the third dimension, is actually the most difficult and challenging of them all. In terms of time, it's the shortest, although many of us can get caught in the wheel of karma with reincarnation, having to learn the lessons that we came here to learn, and we can only ascend once we have learnt those lessons, and once we can embody what it means to be a spiritual being, to have love, compassion and forgiveness in our hearts. So as we evolve on this path, it's important for you to understand that the suffering that we feel on this dimension and this density is very important to our evolution, and we can transmute the suffering into our greatest gifts. And in actual fact, the more that we suffer, the more that we can go into the darkness and shine our light there, the more that we can come out on the other side. So this life, the decisions that you make, and there's one very big decision on which everything hinges, on which all the future densities rely on, is your choice of a path of service to self or service to others. And this is the most important choice that you will make in this density, because if you make this choice, then the following dimension, which may last 75,000 years, the following density, which may last 75 million years, we will exist in those realms, on those frequencies, based on the decisions that we make here on this density. So because of this, I'm truly grateful for all the suffering of my ancestors, of myself, of my family, because I have the capacity to transmute this suffering, to turn this suffering into love and compassion, so that I can be truly present with this life here on earth and enjoy every moment of every day through my breath, through deep presence, through deep intimacy, through deep connection, through deep joy and pleasure. I feel like the time of healing is here for everybody, but we will ascend this time of healing, and we will enter into a time of empowerment and joy and bliss, where we realize that we no longer need to heal, and may future generations bask in the glory that we've created for them. And if only we could see the impact that we have on future generations, and not only after, but also before, because our ancestors do live within us. So how do we want to honor our ancestors and all the sacrifices that they made and all the suffering that they endured so that we could be here? Let's call on their love, call on their wisdom, and let's call on the love and the wisdom of our higher self and our descendants, and apply all that wisdom here and now to the present moment, where we can just be and assist each other on this famous path where Ram Dass famously said, we're all just walking each other home. And that's what we're doing, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning into this message. I hope it resonates with you. I hope it found you in divine timing. Sending you all lots of love today. May you live in peace and harmony. Aho.